But today's material comes from quite a few writings of Reverend Dr. Reverend Gani. I compiled them all into one sermon about the French Revolution, because revolution happens to all of us. We have global revolutions, but we also have intimate revolutions, very personal revolutions, which we call crises. That's what happens on an individual level. So what is the cause of every single revolution? Whether it is a global revolution, a revolution in a country, or a revolution in a person. What is the fundamental thread that connects all of them? It's outrage. Outrage. Healthy outrage. And that outrage creates an urgent need to overthrow. Overthrow something that has become gangrenous. Overthrow something that has become ossified. Something is corrupt. Something is poisoning me. And it needs to be overthrown. It needs to be beheaded. It needs to be destroyed. This is true inside of ourselves and outside of ourselves. And what is it in us that stagnates, that ossifies, that poisons us that we don't even realize, that is gangrenous? It's our false self. It's our idolized self. It's a way of life we construct, and that way of life has to be destroyed. So you think of the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, the non-actions that are committed habitually and perpetually from your false self. The little things, as we spoke of last week, the little lies, the little sellouts, the neglects, compromises, the bad habits, the laziness, the self-flattery, the conceit. These are acted out. These accumulate. And every time they're acted out, we resist the feeling of outrage. We resist the feeling of pain, of going against God. The little lie that I say or tell someone to not hurt their feelings, so I think, just that little lie is a step away from God. I numb myself to that. The choice not to exercise when I should. It's a Freudian slip. The choice not to exercise when I know I need to be caring for this body. This is a vehicle for me to do my task. What am I doing? That's a step away from God. It's a step away from my task. That little act that I choose 15 minutes in one day not to do what I know I should do. But I don't feel pain about these things. I don't feel pain, I feel relief. And so the pain is there, I numb it, it accumulates, I push it down, the poison accumulates. And what eventually happens? It explodes. And it creates a revolution. Jobs are lost. Relationships are destroyed. My body collapses. All because of my choices, the little choices, the little lies, the accumulation of poison in my life. So that's the primary cause of revolution. But another cause of it is the belief that nothing's going to change. Nothing will change. We have frozen visions of how life is. Frozen, petrified visions of our false self, of our idolized self. I'm going to be able to act these things out forever. I can ride high forever. There is no consequence to my actions. I can perpetually act out against goodness, against beauty, against truth. I can continue to lie. It's just a little lie. It's just a little compromise. It's just one day of not exercising, but I think I can act this out perpetually, and there is no consequence. The status quo is going to remain. So here again, on the inner level, you can recognize this corrupt place, this corrupt nobility. I've crowned this way of life. It's not going to change. It's there for life. Like the kings of France. But they need to be beheaded. So you can see this in your own life, but it also exists on the global level, on the outer level, on the level of a nation or the level of the world. Recognize the nobility that needs to be beheaded. The frozen places that need to be beheaded. Because in our false self, we believe that things will never change. And that's how we create our own demise and the demise of the world. Things will never change. Another consequence of revolution, or of overthrowing this false place, this false self, is when it is affected, when revolution occurs, it creates violence. It's an upheaval. Things are destroyed. Things are destroyed. They didn't have to be destroyed if I had done it right in the beginning. But things are going to be destroyed. There's going to be a loss. And what also happens is the primitive self takes over. And the pendulum swings all the way to the other side, creating an equal and opposite amount of injustice. Okay, so on a global level, this is easy to see with the French Revolution. You have the injustice of the monarchy, the right revolution, overthrowing that. But then the other side of the pendulum is the injustice of the plebe, beheading, destroying a lot of the beauty that did exist. Cruelty, the reign of terror, the opposite side of injustice. But it's a universal idea. You can recognize it in yourself when you finally rebel against the false life you don't like, that you've constructed. There's a rebellion, there's a destruction. I'll give you an example of this. I was at the house of an acquaintance, and this person, very strong business person, wealthy, has created by their own smarts a great business, employees, making a lot of money, but carries the weight of the world on their shoulders. In their house was this painting, and it's of this boat adrift. Like there's no oars, it's like an empty little boat. And they said to me, I feel like that boat sometimes adrift, and I need someone else to rescue me. I'm just waiting to be rescued. And I was stunned when they said this. But there it is. The false self of Atlas will one day rebel, be destroyed, and you'll end up adrift in a little rowboat without any oars, waiting for someone to rescue you. It's the other side of the pendulum, the utter collapse. It's an interesting way to think about it, but we do this in ourselves. We do it in ourselves. I carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. Like Atlas, at some point I'm going to rebel. I don't want to be Atlas anymore. Give this world to someone else. So I rebel, I collapse, I destroy. I will no longer be the rescuer. I will be rescued now. You see this? If you can bridge this to yourself and your own life. Now, the most damaging, the most destructive cause of revolution, though, is the denial of new ideas. Healthy ideas. So God is continuously flooding us with life force, with creativity, with impetus to move and to change, to grow, to stretch ourselves. But we say, no, I don't want to grow, I don't want to change, I don't want to stretch myself, I don't want to challenge myself. Things are good as it is. Leave me alone, life. So new ideas are brought to you and you reject them. New and healthy ideas of the Enlightenment were brought in to France way before the revolution happened. Ideas of equality, universal rights of man. These ideas were enlightened ideas. The nobility didn't integrate them. They could have, but they didn't. What happened then? It caused a revolution. On the personal level, you can even see it here spiritually. You come in, and these teachings of self-responsibility create a revolution in your life. New ideas, new ways of thinking create a revolution. And so these ideas, new ideas, challenge us and we resist them. They prod us to move and we block them. They say, stretch yourself. And we say no. And that creates a revolution. What is it that blocks these new ideas? What is it that says no? It's that false self, that gangrenous, idealized self that doesn't want to change, that thinks everything will remain the same, and that is corrupt. We're convinced of it. Nothing's supposed to change in our place of false self. Everything will remain the same. Now, about a month ago or so, I was talking in a sermon about Aristotle and how he defined God. How do you put God into words? And he called God the prime mover. God as the prime mover. God is continuously moving us. He moves all of his creation from within. And moving is a natural state. That movement is activated from inside of us, from the spark of God within us. But when we slow down, when we resist change, when we resist those creative ideas that are given to us, we disconnect from our natural state. And we must be moved. We need a kick in the pants. And that's what crisis is, a kick in the pants. You have to move. You can't stay stagnant forever. All problems in our life start when we stop moving, when we freeze ourselves, when inertia sets in, when we must be moved by something on the outer level. So this illusion of the false self, this gangrenous place in us, the corrupt nobility, denies that God moves, denies God the mover. God is continuously moving, is continuously changing, and our stagnation, our crystallization, our propped up selves, the kings of our false self, they are an outrage to God. They are the antithesis of that movement. You think of the Christ. He overturned the tables. He copiously confronted all the people around him, his disciples, the priests, everybody. He was effecting a revolution. He was bringing up that unmoved mover. He was doing it on the three-dimensional level. So revolution is happening right now, every minute, right here in this church. Right now you're raising your consciousness. There's explosions that are happening in your mind. You're confronting yourself. You are shedding light on unmoving areas. That's a revolution. A revolution is happening. Now, what's going to happen when you leave? A restoration. The monarchy is going to come back. I'll fall back into my bad old ways. It'll be time to exercise, and I'll say, I'll have the opportunity to not tell a lie, but it's easier to do a little white lie, so I think, and I say it. I restore. See how fast. Try to even catch yourself. How fast did it take for that crown to come back? For me to restore? For me to lose the desire to move? Because probably right now you're like, wow, I want to move. I've got things I need to do. This is great. I'm feeling motivated. How long will that last? Check yourself at 4 o'clock today. Do you still have the same excitement about moving? If not, and probably not, it means you've taken off that humble crown of thorns and you've put back on the crown of conceit, the crown of non-movement, the crown of the false life. But it's that crown of thorns, that crown of humility and dignity and necessary revolution that is healing. That thought in your mind right now about revolution needs to be kept alive. It's precious. It's a little candle. It's a little candle. It will renew you. It will replenish you. It will give you all the energy you need in life. Because it plugs you in. It plugs you into infinity. It plugs you into that unmoved mover. Just as the Christ said, I've set the world on fire and I watch it burn. Set your own world on fire. Set your false life on fire. And let it burn. Don't worry, nothing but falsehood will burn. Anything that is against God will burn. Because the rest of you is that fire. The rest of you is that incandescent bush, that burning fire, and the rest of you is eternal. A part of you is already burning. The best part of you, the most beautiful part of you. It's burning, it's full of light, full of strength, full of power, full of movement, and it's longing to come to the surface. Kindle it. Kindle that fire, kindle that revolution, because it's a blessing. It is God within you. So when we have the courage and the self-love to undergo a daily evolution, as in I look at myself with total honesty, with self-confrontation, I remove my masks, I remove pretense, we prevent revolutions in our life. We prevent bloody revolutions in our life. We prevent painful crises by evolving on a daily basis, by changing, by self-reflecting, by confronting ourselves. And if we internalize the lessons of revolution and the storming of the Bastille, we see the necessity to storm our own defenses, the defensive walls that we build to overthrow what is corrupt, to behead that which is false. And that way, we grow and evolve in an organic way. It avoids violence, it avoids big crisis, and it invests energy into creativity. Creativity and self-acceptance. Now, creativity doesn't just mean I can paint, because some of us here can't paint, can't do anything. creativity is. I'm creative in my business. I'm creative in efficiencies that I see. I'm creative in being full of order. I'm creative in what I'm producing. There's so many kinds of creativity. I'm creative when I'm a channel and have insights. I invest this energy of God in creativity and in self-acceptance, where I am now. And sometimes we do have a crisis, and you say, I do confront myself daily. I do look at myself. Why did I create this crisis? Well, obviously, there were pockets that had remained hidden. There were negative pockets to which we were blind. Places that needed to be overthrown that weren't being overthrown. And that is a blessing. What is the value of a lesson imprinted on my immortal soul? It is far greater than any price paid or any loss in three-dimensional reality. And so let's take a moment and perhaps we can go inside, focusing on that incandescent fire, that incandescent place that is surrounding us. And we join that incandescent place, setting our world on fire, setting the meaningless world, the worldly world on fire, the world of falsehood, the world of self-idolization. And in doing so, we allow the inner world of meaning, to break forth and blossom. May you receive divine blessings. By undergoing daily evolution, by challenging yourself, by stretching yourself, and by allowing revolution to take hold in your life. And so let's take a moment and we will pass our offering plate.